Before you begin, please like and subscribe. In this chapter, Luo Fang pulled out his spear and held it to the head of the stout man. At that moment, a woman in high heels descended from another spaceship, approached them, and stepped on the head of the fat man. His eyes widened in fear, and he started sweating like crazy. Realizing he was in serious trouble, the elven-eared woman folded her arms and stared at the guide. She curiously asked Luo Fang if this man had also come to get some benefits from the immortal genius's world. Luo Fang nodded seriously and asked her to interrogate him harshly, because they needed to find out if he had done anything else out of line on this planet, so they would have an explanation. When the immortal genius returned, the woman contemplated in silence. Then more nobles began to descend from their ships and land near them. Luo Fang and the woman turned around, and their eyes began to shine seriously. While the woman was stepping on the guide's head, a noble began to walk towards them with a smile, spreading his hands and commenting that they should actually thank this man too, because if it weren't for a clumsy fool like him able to see reality, they wouldn't have such a great opportunity to meet an immortal genius. With a sinister smile, the man suggested using the guide as a sacrificial banner, and the other nobles nodded, realizing it was a good idea. Luo Fang smiled and nodded as well. Luo Shang was only from a 9th grade immortal level lineage, but with time, it was entirely possible that this genius could leave this star sector and even this galaxy. The woman placed her hand under her chin, and her eyes began to shine with excitement. She realized that by then, he might no longer be an immortal genius. He would become an immortal marshal, a duke, or even an immortal king. While the woman continued to step on the guide's head, Luo Fang couldn't help but feel frustrated that it was a real shame. Luo Shang wasn't from the White Mist Star sector. He let out a sigh, and his eyes began to shine with determination. Despite everything, having Chairman Zhang Luo pull some strings to help them establish good connections was a stroke of luck. The man's face was covered in sweat, and his mind was overwhelmed with fear. He knew better than anyone else that he had to do something. The fat man's eyes widened in panic, and tears began to flow from them like an endless river, as he wondered in horror if he had truly taken profits from the immortal count's world. The fat man was in a state of shock, because he couldn't believe that the 1 in a billion chance of this happening had happened to him. The sun was setting, and the woman continued to step on the head of the arrogant guide. The only thing the fat man could do was feel frustrated, wondering why on earth he had joined the resources department. He thought it would have been much better to simply buy a star lottery ticket and sit at home, waiting for the grand prize. Poor Zhang Yu began to slowly regain consciousness. With a face full of fear, she began to cough and opened her eyes. The woman pressed down even harder on the man's head, ordering him to kneel properly. When Zhang Yu lifted her head, her mind was filled with confusion. She didn't know what had happened. Luo Fang turned around, and with a calm expression, he began to walk towards her in silence. Luo Fang was a truly noble man. He helped Zhang Yu to her feet and asked her if she was okay, as he knew she had been through a lot. With a smile, she replied that she was feeling a lot better now, and thanked him for his help. While Luo Fang's eyes showed calmness, he took out a small green flask and removed the cap, causing drops to begin falling toward the ground. Zhang Yu's attention was on it, and her eyes widened in astonishment as she noticed a powerful aura. The drops hit the ground, and after a short while, grass sprouted from nothing. A smile appeared on Luo Fang's face, and Zhang Yu's jaw dropped in shock. She didn't know what was happening. Carefully observing, she realized that she had revived the entire land in a single moment. Her eyes widened in surprise as she felt a strange sensation. She placed her hand over her chest, feeling a wave of comfort as a warm force engulfed her. Her wounds were cleansed by the vitality radiating from the ground, and she felt incredibly comfortable. With a gentle smile, Luo Fang explained that he had nothing below level 11. This mysterious purple potion could heal wounds, but it had to be diluted 100 million times before it could be consumed. So, he had no choice but to pour it on this land, to nourish the planet. All Zhang Yu could do was stare in silence. Luo Fang offered her the potion, arguing that if she could be healed even from the slightest, wound with radiation, and even greatly increase her strength, then the immortal Count's world could not have been so barren. Zhang Yu's mind was filled with questions. She didn't know what to do. With an expression of gratitude, she bowed her head to Luo Fang, thanking his lordship for saving her life. She looked down at the ground and couldn't help but feel embarrassed. Thinking this was far too precious, she realized that a single flask of the potion could evolve an entire blue star. She had only suffered a minor impact on her soul, and would be fine after some rest. This kind of healing potion might be more valuable than the entire planet. She placed her hand on her chest, and stopped bowing to Luo Fang. She was red as a tomato and, after paying close attention, she realized that her strength had also increased significantly because of it. She closed her eyes and let out a sigh, thinking of the bitter days when she worked hard collecting energy crystals to exchange for remnants of a guide. Now, however, just by enjoying the radiation of a high-level life form, she could grow stronger like this. This was truly amazing. The elven-eared woman kicked the fat man in the back, ordering him to act and move. The guide's behavior changed immediately. He was like a dog. Now, Zhang Yu's focus was on them, and she was amazed. It was no surprise that even a level 10 guide was like an ant in their eyes, something they could crush with a flick of a finger. With a surprised look, she approached Luo Fang and asked who the immortal Earl, who had just been mentioned, was. Luo Fang's attention shifted to her. With a smile, he mentioned that he had forgotten she knew nothing about the immortal Earl. Luo Fang revealed that the immortal Earl was the one who had left this blue planet. Zhang Yu began to picture Luo Shang smiling, and her eyes widened in surprise, leaving her in complete shock. Luo Fang knew that she had nicknamed him God of War. He explained that Earl Luo Shang possessed the most powerful and unusual immortal grade physique ever seen in both the White Mist and Yamu sectors, being hailed as the greatest genius in their history of 13 sectors in a million years. Therefore, the Yamu Star Sector Union granted him the title of the Immortal Count. The eyes of the nearby martial saints widened in surprise. Some of them began to point at Luo Fang, urging others to listen. As they had just said, they were sent by Lord Luo's faction. The martial saints began to talk among themselves. They were shocked to learn that Lord Luo had left the blue star only a few months ago, and in the blink of an eye, had already become one of the most important figures in the entire universe. The first true miracle in a million years. Oh God. This was amazing. Zhang Yu began to remember what Snowy had mentioned. It seemed Luo Shang was doing more or less fine there. She closed her eyes, feeling joy as she recalled asking Madame Luo previously, who had told her that he was barely managing out there in the stars. Her eyes filled with relief, and she adjusted her hairlock as she finally understood what the expression barely meant. At the same time, elsewhere, the white bird ship was on its way to the blue star. Inside the ship, Luo Shang was focused, meditating in silence. Luo Shang began to look towards the land, and his body began to emit intense energy. Without wasting a single second, Luo Shang clenched his fist tightly and came out of the spaceship. While his eyes were shining with calmness, he began to focus his martial energy into his fists. In front of Luo Shang was a void. Without wasting a single second, Luo Shang struck powerfully. His power caused the void to slowly begin to close and collapse. Our boy, with his fist clenched, began to observe carefully and felt joy upon noticing that this power could collapse the void. Although they were clearly of the same martial heritage level, he wondered why this one was so much stronger than the Wind Dao leader technique he had inherited from his sister last time. His eyes began to shine with curiosity as he thought that this was probably due to the Starfall Fate disc. He remembered that during that trial, a huge wave of power had entered his body from the starry sky, ultimately causing him to have immense power. His expression became serious, as he could now feel the blue planet from light years away. His perception had also increased significantly. Luo Shang focused on causing intense yet powerful energy to begin flowing from his body. The Tao guides of the four sides were truly wonderful. The heritage he had just allowed him to reach level 5 in his palm techniques, while his boxing, sword, spear, acts and body techniques were approaching the peak of that same level. Luo Shang took out a mobile phone and turned it on. With a sarcastic look, he remembered that he had been told they would call someone to solve the problem, and he wanted to see if it had actually been solved. He made a video call with Snowy, who smiled and asked Luo Shang if he was finally returning. With a gentle smile, he explained to his wife that yes, but he still had half a day of travel, and he asked her if everything was over. With a tense expression, she told him, yes, it was resolved, but it was a little noisy. His eyes widened in confusion and curiosity, wondering how noisy it could be. His wife said he would know when he returned. After half a day, Luo Shang approached the blue planet, and his eyes were filled with surprise, leaving him in a state of shock. There were hundreds of huge spaceships near the blue planet. He couldn't believe she could call this a little noisy. This was way too much. He placed his hands on the table, stood up, and looked fixedly at the spaceships, wondering how the counselor had found so many people to help, and if the situation had truly become this serious. At that moment, someone asked him if he was the immortal Earl. His eyes filled with confusion, and he confirmed that he was. Hundreds of ships lined up in front of Luo Shang, and one of them threw a message, welcoming the immortal Earl back to his home planet. Luo Shang was in a state of shock. He realized that this was a magnificent scene, and that he was now, without a doubt, indebted to a great favor. And so, friend, today's chapter is over. Stay well.